Hey everyone, YouTube, it's Giles. It's Giles and his moisturizer, apparently. There we go. How are you guys doing? I hope you're doing well. So, I made a video log the other day. I was just in the middle of sorting my coins out, and I kind of enjoyed it. So I thought I'll do that again while I'm doing some work. If you don't know my coin channel, do. It's called Fool's Treasury. If I remember, I'll put it in the description below. So, unfortunately, unlike that video, I can't show you much of what I'm doing today, because what I'm doing today is not safe for work. And the way I see it with this sort of content is that if it is the sort of thing you're into, you'll find it. I don't really see any point in talking about it outside of that. So I was talking about following on from the whole autism thing I was talking about the other day. I'm still on that, and I think I might be on that for a while, because it's kind of like I keep sort of lovingly refer to it as orgasming, which is the past sort of couple of days. I feel like after learning so much about autism, I feel like I am confident with a self-diagnosis, which I understand. You know, some people don't like that, but, you know, as Mark in the comment section of the previous video pointed out, it took him about 3-4 years to be diagnosed. I just don't have that time on my hands. You know, I'm like 36 years is enough. Thank you very much. And besides, I think the only it's kind of like you can kind of understand that from say like the benefits perspective. Like, if I was seeking benefits, maybe then it would be a problem for me to self-diagnose, because unfortunately, you know, the world being what it is, anybody could claim that, it is daft though. You do think that it should be a priority, given that this is like what gave me the idea to record this video, because I was thinking, like, given how common it is, and I do believe it's more common than people think it is, you would think that it should be prioritised more. And it's hard for me to assess this properly, because one of my concerns is that I thought that after, you know, self-diagnosis, I'd start looking at people I know, and I'm like, well, that guy's autistic too. That guy's really autistic. He's autistic. She's autistic. Everybody's autistic. And I had this moment of like going, are you just doing that thing? You know what I mean? Are you just... You've found this thing out for yourself, and now you're just projecting on everybody around you. But I started sort of taking... you know, thinking of the opposite, where you think to yourself, well, can you think of anyone who isn't? And... you know, I start to get a sharpening opinion. I'm like, that person's not, that person's definitely not, that person's definitely not. Now, bear in mind that all of my life, I have watched so much entertainment historically. Like, I was never satisfied just... like, the latest thing was never an interest to me, because it was such a... such a compressed, heavily edited window into humanity. Like, I had to, as like life confused me, I found myself gravitating to entertainment and content of across the board, from as far back as you can think. That's why, you know, when I talk about comedy, I don't just talk about the latest comedies, mainly because comedy hasn't been good for a long time. But I'm talking about comedy from the 20s or 30s all the way up to now, you know, whether you've got like Laurel and Hardy and stuff like that. And all this stuff should never be lost, because when you consume it altogether, you start to get this vast picture of what has always been here. You know, like people can sit there and say people are like this, people are like that, or people are like this now, or people have changed now. But when you look at the entertainment historically, people have changed, but there's still that backbone that's carried straight through. It's like the bodywork has changed, but the chassis has always been the same. But you know, that sort of shapes my opinion of like the different types of minds you can get that have always been there. And the thing that's been on my mind is, you know, as I sit there and I go, you know, that person's autistic, but you know, I think to myself, well, what if like the ratio is considerably higher than people realise? Because as well, you've got to consider like people that never get diagnosed. I find that this is probably a bit of a side rant. I've found the people that get angered by autism very interesting. People that find the subject, like, it infuriates them, you know, because I'm sort of like, well, you're telling us more about you than you are us, you know, especially being someone myself who has been annoyed by that sort of thing. It's sort of like, I don't know. I think it feels like a called bluff. You know, it feels like they know what's up, but they just don't want to, you know, because there's still that sort of that myth that autism is you know, a disease or an illness, or there's something wrong with you, or whatever. And I don't think that's the case at all. I mean, and this is a lot of what I'm thinking as well. Like, it's like, not only is it sort of not an ailment, but it's something. I almost want to split society down and say it's a 50-50 thing, but it only becomes apparent within certain societies. Like when it comes to like the thing I sort of I've said before is that I think one of the reasons why a lot of people associated it with men is because it was easier to diagnose with men, because societal demands, I think they're more likely to put men in situations where autism can be detected, whilst there's well, bear in mind we're talking like absolute basic psychology, like as common middle ground average psychology as you can get. I think the things that men statistically do is more likely to make an autistic mind apparent more than it would what society typically asks of women, and I think that's why women have a harder time getting diagnosed with something like autism. I might be wrong, and you know, if you're a woman watching this and you disagree, or if you're a man watching this and disagree, but that's just how I feel about it. But I think the demands from society they've changed over the years, and it's all pertaining to how. I think a lot of it pertains to the condition of the country, the freedom of the country. You know, you look at say, like, I don't know, my grandmother's work or die era. you know, where if you weren't quite right, they might have locked you up, and the family might have sort of forgotten about you, and that was just how they dealt with it. And in their defence, you know, there was a war on, and poverty, and all that sort of stuff, and not that that's too much of a defence, but you know what I mean. It was a that's why I call it the work or die era. As much as it was harsh on those people, it was harsh on the people that were doing it to them as well. It just that's, you know, it goes back to that whole be thankful for what you have today thing. But I think with freedom comes with freedom comes choice, and choice is a good and a bad thing. You know, again, life was simpler back then in the work or die era. You just work or you die. But nowadays, there's thousands and thousands of things to choose from, thousands of avenues to go down, and people's heads are exploding. And I don't think it's a bad thing, but I don't think we've evolved fast enough to cope with it. You know, like I think maybe our children's children are going to get their head around it, but by the time they come along, maybe some new societal ill will have come around that they've got to get used to as well. And so maybe the whole thing just goes on and on and on and on. It's like all these people talk about AI coming for people's jobs. Technology has been coming for people's jobs for forever. It's always been that way. You know, you get these people and they're like, you want to survive AI? Learn a trade. Like, fuck off. Like, well, yes, first of all, yes, but just not as dramatically. It's not like, we got to do this for the machines. They're going to take us all one by one. I mean, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, go and talk to lamplighters. Oh, no, wait, you can't. They're not around anymore because electricity came for them. Yeah, actually, that's a lie. There's about, I think, 4 lamplighters in the world that still do it as it's like a ceremonial thing or something like that. But the point is that they used to be very, very common, and due to technological advances, that they are not very common anymore. And sort of going back to you know, like choice among society and society changing, I think it's fair to say that what we have in society now allows sort of it's freedom to acknowledge things that may be relevant with freedom apparent. You know, the more freedom you have, there's more things that can be apparent, and I think it's arguable autism is one of them. But the whole thing could just be moot on account of you know, if as a lot of people attest to, a lot of people who are autistic realise that a lot of people around them are autistic because they have spent their life gravitating towards like-minded people. So that's sort of why you know, that's why I sort of look around and go, is everyone autistic? Because the people that I've gotten along with, you know, when I was working in the office, I practically knew everybody in that service centre. We're talking like, you know, 200 people, and it just so happens that the 4 or 5 that I get along the best with just so happen to be autistic people. You know, it's I don't know, it's something to think about, because I think as well that the diagnosis it only becomes relevant if you needed to. You think about all the people that are autistic that have never been diagnosed and will never need to be diagnosed. You know, it just doesn't, it doesn't matter to them. It's not relevant to them. Their life is completely unaffected. You know, I feel like the percentage that gets diagnosed, you have to dilute that by the people who won't ever get diagnosed, or don't need to, or don't want to. So we'll never really get straight statistics on. We'll never get straight statistics on how many there are ever. You know. I don't know. I don't know if this is making sense. I just sort of it was just going around in my head today. You know, it's sort of like, well, we will never know how many there are. We'll never know how common it is. But what if it is more common than people think? Because the thing I was saying is that I feel corrected by this. I don't feel broken by this. I don't feel damaged by this. I don't feel harmed in any way. I feel like I've been put back together again. I was in the store this morning just getting my morning coffee, and the store owner, you know, I always have this battle when I go into shops with nerves going around in my head. It's like I get so paranoid about how inconsistent I am when I'm talking to people in stores and shops and things. Some days I'll come in and I'm like, "Good morning, you know, how are you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. And then the next day, for whatever reason, for whatever's going on with me, next day I'll just sort of be like, Like my joke is that I make the sound of a whoopee cushion being pushed through a harmonica, you know, just sort of. It's like it's barely a sound at all, and I sort of, you know, I can't help but worry about how it makes me look, you know, especially when the store owner is someone like really sociable, you know, they're like they remember me from the previous day, and they remember that epic, fantastic chat we had, and they're like, "Oh, hello, my friend, how are you?" You know, but this morning, you know, having a bad day. Well, not a bad day, just a non-communicative day, and you know, the guy says hello. I wheeze at him, and I suddenly sort of thought to myself, I was literally like rallying the troops, and my brain was just like, "You're autistic." That's just what my brain says to myself, and suddenly, just like that, I'm able to communicate again. And I think it is an issue with feeling wrong and insecure, and the second I think of that, I feel happy and comfortable and not wrong. And you know, like I think that's why I don't like autism being spoken about like it's an ailment. I think it is fair to say that if undiagnosed, it can become an ailment later in life. You know, it's sort of like what you don't. Not knowing is what could make it disorderly, and upon discovery, you can learn to work with it, you know, and that's I think that's why, you know, you get people say that autistic people have like superpowers, and I get why they say that, especially myself as I look at the things that I do. You know, a more sort of concentrated way of working and skill and stuff like that. But I don't know. Do you know, I completely lost my trail of thoughts there. Just fell off the rails. But yeah, I mean, I sort of I don't know. I wonder about oh, it's horrible when that happens. Literally, I'm just going to go back to let's see. Hang on, maybe I can pull this off. Okay, so the main point of where I was going with this whole thing was autism being more common in people than people think. But I was trying to finish what I was saying anyway. Let's see. Thought about how autistic I am, made me confident again. Not feeling wrong. Yeah, the later it is diagnosed, the you know, potentially the more damage that can be done, the more it's likely to be. I mean, I guess you could argue that maybe that's where placement on the spectrum can form. You know, depending on how the relationship between how late it's been diagnosed and the severity of it. And maybe trauma caused by it not being diagnosed, that sort of all influences where it is on the spectrum. But I wonder about how common it is, and I wonder sort of the importance of it being diagnosed and when it gets diagnosed and stuff like that, because I'm like, why isn't it just routine to just test all children? You know, and I, you know, first of all, I understand that it's difficult, you know, diagnosing children. I'd be curious as to how, like, babies, and because you get some people they're like my small baby is autistic, like, and for the time being of that, I'm an unbeliever. For the time being, like, you know, someone can, you know, I'm open to being proven wrong on that, but it doesn't make like, I would think that I think as well there is a concern of, like, you get like parents that kind of want their children to be a specific way. They romanticize things, and let's face it, there are people romanticizing autism, which is really, let's discuss that at a different time. but that's where I would become skeptical about. I don't know why people. Sorry, I said I'd get into it later, and we'll do it a different day. But there are people that, like, romanticize their children having things that everybody else that has this thing has a lot of stress in life to deal with. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand that. You know, it's like I saw this video and this woman was like, my baby is gay, and I was like, you bloody lunatic. Like, I mean, you ask any gay person, then the struggles and difficulties that they've had, and it's not that they wouldn't wish it, you know, that they wouldn't wish it upon somebody else, but they certainly wouldn't wish it forced upon somebody else. You know, it's just like, I swear, if I was ever around a woman and she was like, yes, my baby is gay, I'd just be like, what baby? You don't have a baby anymore. I've taken it away from you. But that was probably quite a harsh way to word that. I don't care, fuck you. you just sort of, I mean, I think what concerns me is that when you diagnose something, or following that analogy, accuse something of you know, from such a young age, you run the risk of falsely making it happen, which can be horrifically traumatic. You know, it's sort of like I think to a certain extent, like everybody wants to raise their children to be like, you know, to you know, it's like if you're, I don't know, a surgeon. If you're a surgeon, you might want your child to be a surgeon when they grow up. You know, it might be subtle. You know, like happy first birthday. Here's a stethoscope. They're fun. You know, I think like that's natural, but I think like when it comes to like bigger life choices and stuff, especially things that are gonna affect what kind of household you're gonna want. You know, like when you think about like passing the family torch, that doesn't necessarily imply what the household is going to be. You know, you're not telling them what their partner's going to be like. You're not telling them what sort of thing that they're going to want to aspire to be. That, you know, so that was the whole issue of people not liking parents accepting their children being gay, because that's them commanding their children as to what household they should have. When you know, ambitions and careers are a very different thing. But I do wonder how, if autism is more common than we think. And I do, like I said, I'll go so far to be curious about a 50-50 split. And I'm not saying there is a 50-50 split. I'm saying I can't help but be curious about that. And on account of many things that we talked about in this video, it'll be like trying to you know, disprove a chocolate teapot on the other side of the sun, as Dawkins would say. I don't think he would say chocolate. I believe I threw that in myself. But prove me wrong. Is there a chocolate teapot on the other side of the sun? Prove me wrong. Does that analogy even work anymore? Like, surely we've been round the back of the sun by now. I don't know, the sun is pretty far away, isn't it? Well, that's the single dumbest thing I've said all day. Thankfully, though, it's only 8 o'clock, so hopefully I won't best it. I've gotten all the stupid out just at 8 in the morning. It's not bad. That means I'm clear for the rest of the day. But yeah, so random verbal farting today. I hope this wasn't too bad. I hope I haven't put you to sleep. But just some random thoughts in my head, and that's that. I don't know if you find these video logs interesting. I like the idea of just getting into doing video logs like this while I'm doing stuff. Obviously today it's work that I can't show you, which is my typical work, but as well I do lots of other stuff that you know, we have these sorts of chats while I'm playing the guitar, or coins. Actually, probably not coins. I'll probably just relegate that to the coins channel, where I will just be talking about coins. But yes, I don't know how to end this video now. You know, the weird thing is, every now and then, I get the urge to stop recording, like several times during this video. I lose my footing and all that sort of stuff, and that's a common thing. You know, that's stopped me making video logs in the past. I sort of stumble on my words, and I end up, I don't quite know where I am, and I'm like, well, I've got to stop recording the video. But on account of that thing that we've been talking about lately, exactly the same as the shopkeeper example, I just I can sort of pick myself back up now, and sort of like, I'm not saying, oh, you stumbled with your words, you're autistic, oh, that's all right then, but there is something there that makes me feel at ease and not as I don't know, it's like I don't get embarrassed, or I think there's some kind of correlation between that and masking, I think, you know, it's like, oh my God. There's a part of me that's being seen that I don't want to be seen, you know? And so I go into panic mode and stop it. In this case, stop the recording. But not today. And hopefully not another day after. What the fuck am I talking about? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Leave a comment and a like. And like your own comment. No, I didn't think about that one, did you? No. It makes people look like they like you, you know? I like my own comments sometimes, but only when like I've commented on a video and then like at some point in the future someone responds to the comment, bringing me back to that comment, and then I reread what I've written, and I was like, I may have said this 6 months ago, but I said it very well. That's when I'll like my own comment. It's good for the soul. I'll see you guys later. Bye.